Well, hello, my friends. It's Shawn Petite, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Look at this cutie we're making today. So good, so much fun. Here are the supplies that we'll be using today. I'm starting today's project on a 12 by 12 MDF board, and I'm using Jerry's, I'm using a new brand of fluid matte medium. I'm trying it out to see how it works, and I really enjoyed it. It is a little bit thinner than my typical, say, Liquitex or DecoArt media fluid acrylic, but I like it. So for the price, I was pretty happy. So I'm just going to be putting my papers down with this fluid acrylic, Jerry's fluid acrylic, and these papers, these collage papers, are some that are in the shop as collage packs. I put them all down and got them dry, and now I'm going to do a little bit of jelly printing. I've got a 6x6 jelly plate out here, and I'm going to be using that with some of my stencils. I've taken it off of the plastic that it comes in, and I've put it down on an 8.5 by 11 sheet protector that you would put in a folder or something like that. And I'm using that so that I can pick it up and stamp with it. And I love stamping with my jelly plate. It has a wonderful effect, and I wanted to get a little bit of pattern in there. And I started out with a mixture of teal and a lot of beige, and it turned out to be too light. And you'll see once I get that pressed down, you don't get much of the paint on there or the pattern. And so this was just a little bit of an experiment. So I went straight for the good stuff and just did full on teal with a really good coat of paint. No beige or anything like that. I went to a larger stencil, and this is a lace stencil, and it was better, but I needed a larger pattern to really pick up some of that pattern that I'm putting down. I could see some of the lace pattern, and I hope you can see it in the video, but it was wonderful. But I, again, wanted a larger pattern. So I decided to do that again. And I am adding just a tiny bit of that beige in there to give it a little bit of color, like a variation of color. Went to the Geo Square stencil, and this one was the magic. I just loved it. Loved the large pattern on it. And I'm just showing you that you can use your stencils after you do this technique onto a piece of paper and build some wonderful collage paper as well. So you can see the pattern showing up there, and I just love it. And one of the things that happens when you do this is the raised areas that you're putting everything down with the pattern that you're creating on your jelly plate, the raised areas create this bit of texture as you do the layering here. So I'm going a little bit lighter now that I've got some darker color down, and the results are fantastic. I continued to use the same stencil now that I like the pattern. It was wonderful. And once you get just a tiny bit of that texture over the top, any glaze or any type of wash that you put over the top will kind of sit in some of those grooves that you've created with the pattern of the stencil on the jelly plate. So I just love this technique. It allows for some inconsistencies and gives you great pattern. And I'm going light because it will show up a little bit more on that teal as well. But it also allows the paper to show through here and there, and that's the whole purpose. So now that I've got the first layer of the background down, I'm going to use my brayer now to further push that background together and prepare it for the focal point, because we don't want the background to compete with the focal point. We want it to be there and tell the story, but also allow for a wonderful canvas for the focal point to show up on. So that's why I do, usually multiple layers of my background just to get it right, so that it will really show off the focal point, which is the purpose. So I wanted to really emphasize some of that pattern. And I'm using a dry brush technique, and I'm using a fan brush because you can get barely any paint on that fan brush and not a lot of control, and that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be super subtle, but to really accentuate some of that pattern that will come out from the stencil with the dry brush and the gesso. And so it's just a tiny bit here and there, still allowing for all of the layers to show through, but really accentuating the texture and the pattern. So now I'm going to use my Jerry's Fluid Medium as a glaze, and you can do this and it gives you a different result than a regular glaze. Regular glaze is shiny and a little bit smoother. This has got that matte finish, so it comes off differently, it shows up differently on the background. It's super matte, and I really like the technique. And the Jerry's Fluid Acrylic is fluid enough to really add that kind of glaze effect over the background, with still giving me that matte finish, which I love. So I'm just continuing to layer. I added some Lukas Acryl in Van Dyke Brown, and then I've also added some DecoArt Fluid Acrylic in Raw Umber, and just kind of really getting a grungy mottled feeling for the background. And it's still allowing for all of the layers to show through. So now I'm using my stencil as my guide. I don't stencil through my stencil. I just use it as a reference for where I want to go. And that's the one thing there's so many things that I love about using stencils. They're so versatile in so many ways. And I can just maneuver them in a way to kind of get exactly what I want. And you can see that I'm just doing an outline, because it's just going to give me my form, my shape, so that I don't have to reinvent it. It's super fast, super easy. I don't have to think too hard. I can do it quickly, and I don't get frustrated or anything like that. So I love using my stencils this way, and it just shows the versatility of any stencil. So I'm just getting a layout now of where I want everything to kind of be, just to guide me as I place the next layers. So now that I've got that all drawn out, I'm going to add my flowers to the wings. Now this was just an impulse, but I was wanting to add some meaning. Every single thing in this piece has a meaning, and I will explain it all in the conversation at the end of the video, so I hope you stick around for that. But I just love how the flowers turned out for her wings. Oh my goodness, I'm just so pleased. I'm so glad that I went with my instinct and took a risk, because I didn't know how it would look or how it would turn out. I might have to take it all up, and that's part of creating, is being willing to take a risk and being willing to have it, not turn out so great, and learn the lesson in the process. And that's really what creating is all about. So I've laid my pattern in there, and that is the vintage wallpaper stencil. And now I'm just going to start defining the shape of my wings, trying to really be mindful of not putting too much gesso on there or take away from the pattern itself, because it's so beautiful. And yet still give it some kind of wing-like feel with some feathers, some strokes and I'm using my super heavy gesso to kind of do that initial outline, and then I'll add some watered down regular gesso to it later, but just kind of getting the initial wing shape put together. I'm using some watered down gesso now that the wings are dry to just kind of shape the body in and the top torso part, and kind of connect them to the wings and bring some of that watered down gesso out into the wings. I will go down to the bottom of her skirt or her dress and add just a tiny bit of that teal. And it's really just, again, for placement and to give myself my guide for where my butterfly wings are going to go, and if there's any empty spots behind the wings that it'll be filled in. So I just got a bunch of different sized butterflies and cut out their wings and then just laid them out in a triangle, smallest at the top, largest at the bottom, and then just placed them as if a ruffle for her skirt. And I love this. I can't wait to do this again on another project. Again, the butterfly wings go along with the word and along with the meaning and inspiration behind this piece. So it just makes me so happy. Putting that all down with my Liquitex, or not Liquitex, Jerry's Matte Medium. So now that everything is down, I'm coming back in with a little bit of watered down gesso, and I'm just going to kind of finesse her wings, give her some strokes, some feathers, just really kind of add to it, add a little bit of white to the background, but not too much to take away from the wonderful stencil design on her wings. I just positively love them. Just going to add a little bit of color to the main body part, or her top, I should say. Just kind of fill that in a little bit more. Using some beige and some quinacridone magenta for her face, to give her a little bit of life and some color. And I'm using Lucas paints, and all Lucas paints for the most part. And all the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog will be down below in the YouTube description box. So she has to have her crown or her hat, if you will, and so that's just one of the butterfly wings, and I'm just going to add in some hair with my General's charcoal pencil. The charcoal pencil that I'm using right now is typically I use an extra soft, but this is a hard, and I don't know if it's like N2N. But anyway, I'm using a hard charcoal pencil so that I can get really defined lines, so that I don't get too much smudging, because I want there to be definitely some definition in her face and neck and that kind of thing. And then I will switch back to the extra soft to really get some good shading going on around her body. But I'm going to create her arms and her hands now. And again, I'm using that hard so that I have the hard charcoal pencil, so that I have really good lines. I will shade around absolutely everything around her body, around the butterfly wings, around her angel wings, to just give it some definition, to make it pop, to separate it from the background and really bring it to life. So I will paint in her hands with the same coloring of her face, and I printed out a word on my computer and then just printed it out. The word is transformation, and put that down, and then I will add some little wings and color those in with some yellow ochre, add some details for her top, her neckline, that kind of thing. Add some white splatters of some watered down gesso, and then shade the edge with a new chalk pastel that I've been wanting to use, and that's well, I've been using Soho's, but this is the Jumbo Soft Pastels that you'll see me use at the end. And that is it, my friends. I love this process, lots of fun and playing and experimenting, and that's what creating is all about. I hope that you stick around for the conversation at the end. It's such a good one about transformation. And subscribe and like if you enjoyed today's project so that you never miss a video. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them. I do my best to get back to you and answer any questions that you might have. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed the project, and I will see you next week. Well, hello, my friends, and happy Sunday to you. I hope that your new year was great. I just want to make sure this was after the new year. What can I say? I just positively love her. I love this. Oh my gosh. So, I went over everything in the video, and I just, I loved the background with the jelly plate and that kind of thing. I just positively loved it. I have a ton, if you don't already have butterflies and you want to try and recreate this, I have a ton of butterfly collage packs, so you can check those out. So, I don't think all the stencils that I used today, and there were a few of them, because I experimented in the background, but all of those will be on sale for this week of the video. So, let's see, what else? I think that is it. Okay, so the meaning behind this. So, I really don't make like New Year's resolutions or anything like that, but I always kind of reflect on the past year and then make a new list and goals and different things like that for the coming year. And it always feels like this sense of freedom to me. And I, take a look at what worked last year and what didn't work last year. And what didn't work, I give myself some grace on those things, and then maybe try to reframe them or rework them, or or just completely let them go and move on and make new goals for the year. And I do that personally and in the business. And it always feels like such a wonderful freedom to me to plan all of that. And I love to see the transformation. When I take a look back at the year prior, as I'm starting to make new goals for the new year, I look back at what a transformation happened through that year. And I knew that you always make your goals and want to make some changes and different things like that, or just make things better, or whatever your goals and intentions and those kinds of things for the new year are. There's always some type of transformation that comes with that change. And so when I started creating this piece, that's what this whole thing was about, was this transformation. Even the papers in the background, the music sheets, I feel like when I'm in that place of transformation, there's this song that like is singing in my soul, because I know that the work that I'm doing is going to change me and make me better. Even if it's not, whatever I'm doing didn't work out, the lessons in the process really help me grow and be better and learn and all of those things. So that's why I had music sheets in the background. The flowers here on her wings and the butterfly wings were all part of that transformation process, because I think about the transformation that a flower goes through from a seed or a bulb, and how it blooms and it's just this tight little bud, and then it just opens up. And the same thing with a butterfly, the cocoon, and working that butterfly works hard to get out, to expose its beautiful wings. And that's our process of transformation, and how I enter into the new year. I know there's going to be work, I know there's going to be fear, and I know all of those things, but I'm doing it anyway, because I want to change and grow and be better and be happier and give more, and all the things that are on my list. I know that it's not an easy process, and so that's why I incorporated those things within this piece. And then the angel, of course, is always just my messenger. And so when there's an important message, I feel like the angel is appropriate. And so as I was thinking about the word transformation, I of course looked it up. That's my personality type. And transformation says a thorough or dramatic change in form or appearance. And I thought, oh man, sometimes it is dramatic. Sometimes it's like, boom, I made a choice and I am different. And then, but the other word was thorough. So that thorough is like a long process. That doesn't happen like overnight. It's change that's steady. The other thing that I liked about the description of transformation is so a process by which an element in the underlying deep structure of a sentence is converted to an element in the surface structure. So talking about what's underneath and underlying in a sentence, but we could use that. I use all of this as in my own life. Something that's underneath the surface that we know we need to change. We've got to bring that to the surface so that we can work on it and have that thorough and dramatic change happen. So then the other thing was metamorphosis is just like right hand in hand with transformation. So of course I looked that up, and it's perfect. I almost was like, maybe I should put metamorphosis, but that was transformation's easier to get and understand right away. But metamorphosis, the process of transformation from an immature form to an adult form in 2 or more distinct stages. I mean, hello? I don't know that there could be a better explanation for transformation, metamorphosis. When we are making a change, when I am making strides to go in a new direction, whatever that is, whether it's creating or learning something with business, in my relationship with my staff or my friends or my husband, or whatever it is, I'm a baby. I am a baby. I'm immature. I don't know the answers. I have never been in this stage before. I don't know what I'm doing. But it's through that process, let me pull that back up, from an immature form to an adult for 2 or more distinct, so there's stages in the process to becoming more mature in our whatever endeavor we are trying to choose. And so it's a process. It's not suddenly you take a class or you reach out and have a conversation with a person and suddenly you get it. It's just not how it works. There's work to be done in our transformation. And that work is so important because that is where every lesson is at. That's where we get our courage. That's where we get our strength. That's where we get our lessons. That's where we get the maturity to move on to the next stage. So, my friends, if you are in a place where you're like making changes for the new year and I don't want to say it's a resolution because those things usually fail. But if you're making a decision to do something different for you, for your life, to make you happier, stronger, or wiser, whatever it is, more creative, as soon as we realize that there is a process, that we are babies in this endeavor, whatever it is that we're trying to do, and that maturity doesn't come for a long time in whatever we're doing. And it could be a lifelong process. So I think about that. I use the example of my creativeness, my art practice. I might be a teenager now. When I started, I was a baby. Now I'm maybe a teenager. So I've got a lot more years to go before maybe I will never feel like I'm fully mature and adult in my practice, my art practice. And that's okay, because I don't think we should ever stop learning. I think we just get to our stages and we've gained more knowledge. We get a little bit more mature and a little bit more mature. So I just want to encourage you to not get discouraged, because whatever you're trying to do that's different, you're just a baby. And you wouldn't expect a baby to walk right away or talk right away. They have to go through a process, and that's what we have to do as we are beginning to change ourselves and our worlds and our relationships or whatever it is. So don't give up. Recognize where you are and just keep going in spite of all the stuff, in spite of the fear, in spite of not knowing anything. Keep doing it. All right, my loves, I hope that you have a wonderful Sunday and that you are in a place of transformation where you're learning and growing and all of those kinds of things, because I think it's so important for us as human beings on this planet to continually to grow. And I hope that your Sunday is restful and peaceful, and I hope that you always, always know that you are loved.